Raj had big dreams. He wanted to become a successful entrepreneur, travel the world, write a book, learn 5 languages, and build an empire. His room walls were covered with motivational quotes and vision boards filled with his goals. He spent hours watching success videos, reading about billionaires, and imagining his future life. But there was one problem. He never actually did anything. Every morning, he'd wake up with grand plans, but by afternoon, he'd be scrolling through his phone or binge-watching shows, telling himself, "I'll start tomorrow." His friends called him the dreamer who never wakes up. Years passed, and while his ambitious friends were achieving their goals, Raj was still in the same place, still dreaming, still planning, still waiting for the perfect moment to begin. One day, his grandfather, a retired farmer who had built everything from scratch, visited him. Looking at Raj's vision board, he asked, "Beta, these are beautiful dreams. When did you start working on them?" Raj replied defensively, "I'm preparing myself, Dadu. I'm learning, I'm planning. I'll start when I'm fully ready." His grandfather smiled and said, "Come with me tomorrow morning. I want to show you something." The next morning at 5 a.m., despite Raj's protests, his grandfather took him to their old family farm that had been abandoned for years. The land was covered with weeds. The soil was hard, and it looked impossible to cultivate. His grandfather handed him a shovel and said, "I want you to plant a mango tree here." Raj looked at the terrible condition of the land and said, "Dadu, this land is not ready. It needs months of preparation. The soil needs treatment. We need proper tools, better weather, expert advice. Let me research the best methods first." His grandfather calmly replied, "Okay, you do your research, but I'll start now." And with that, the old man, despite his age, began digging. Raj sat under a tree, making notes on his phone about the perfect way to plant a tree. He researched soil types, weather patterns, fertilizer brands, and watched expert videos. Meanwhile, his grandfather kept working, slowly, steadily, imperfectly. After 2 hours, Raj looked up from his phone and saw that his grandfather had already cleared a patch of land, dug a hole, and was planting the mango sapling. It wasn't perfect, the technique wasn't ideal, but it was done. His grandfather wiped his sweat and said, "Beta, let me tell you something I learned in 70 years of life. There are 2 types of people in this world: those who wait for the perfect conditions, and those who create conditions through action. The first type has perfect plans that never execute. The second type has imperfect actions that lead to perfect results." He continued, "You know why you're ambitious but lazy? Because you've confused dreaming with doing. Ambition without action is just entertainment. It makes you feel good, but it changes nothing. Every minute you spend planning the perfect start is a minute you could spend making an imperfect beginning." Raj tried to argue, "But Dadu, what if I fail? What if I'm not ready? What if I make mistakes?" His grandfather laughed and pointed at the newly planted tree. "Look at this tree. Is it planted perfectly? No. Did I use the best technique? No. Will it still grow? Absolutely. You know why? Because done is better than perfect. A tree planted imperfectly today will give fruit in a few years. A tree planted perfectly but never planted will give you nothing forever." Over the next 3 months, his grandfather made Raj come to the farm every single day. No research, no planning sessions, just work. 1 hour of physical labor on the farm. Some days Raj made mistakes. Some days the work felt meaningless. Some days he wanted to quit. But slowly, something miraculous happened. The abandoned land began to transform, not because of perfect planning, but because of consistent imperfect action. And more importantly, Raj himself transformed. He realized that his ambition was actually a comfortable hiding place. It was easier to dream about success than to face the uncomfortable reality of hard work. It was safer to plan endlessly than to risk failure through action. His laziness wasn't physical. It was mental. and emotional laziness, disguised as being strategic. 6 months later, that abandoned farm had growing crops, and Raj had finally launched his first real business. Not a perfect one, just a real one. It was small, it had problems, but it existed. A year later, while the business was still struggling and far from his grand vision, Raj had learned the most valuable lesson of his life. One evening, as they sat watching the sunset over the farm, his grandfather said, "You see that mango tree? It's growing, not as fast as the expert videos promised, not as perfectly as you planned, but it's growing. That's the secret nobody tells you. Growth doesn't come from perfect conditions. It comes from consistent action in imperfect conditions." Raj finally understood. Ambition is the spark, but discipline is the fuel. Dreams give you direction, but daily action gives you distance. You don't need to feel motivated to start. You need to start to feel motivated. The most successful people aren't the ones with the biggest dreams. They're the ones who take the smallest actions every single day. Today, Raj still has big dreams, but now he also has something more valuable. The understanding that every empire was built one imperfect brick at a time. Every book was written one messy page at a time. And every success story began with someone who stopped planning perfection and started doing something. The difference between ambitious dreamers and ambitious achievers isn't talent, intelligence, or resources. It's simply this. Achievers understand that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is now. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Start with this imperfect one.